Marcio,
Morning.
can you explain, you lived at Grenfell Tower for how long?
I was a baby to the tower, so I was there for 10 years.
10 years, so it was home. Just tell us a little bit about Grenfell Tower and what it was like living there.
It was a beautiful place. It had its own micro-community, if you like, because you get to meet a lot of... I had young kids at the time, and you get to meet a lot of the parents going to school, waiting for the lifts, and you have fantastic conversation. And it was just its own little micro-community. Everybody knew each other, everybody played in the corridor. Our doors were generally always open for the kids to run in and out.
We've just passed on Saturday the anniversary of a day that nobody ever wanted to go through, but of course we don't want to forget. I wonder what that was like for you.
The anniversary?
Yeah.
It was very emotional, especially this year because of Angela Rayner's decision to bring down the tower. So it was the last time we're going to see the tower as how it is at the moment. So it was a very emotional time for us.
Can you tell us a little bit about the day when it actually happened? And you were quite high up on the tower, weren't you? When did you realise there was something wrong?
Yeah, so I lived on the 21st floor with my family. It was just a normal day. It was really hot. The day was really, really hot. We decided to go out for dinner as a family with a group of friends. Because it was a school night, went home a little bit earlier, put the kids to sleep. And then I was up for a little bit later. And I think I just went to bed just after midnight that day. And then I was woken at 1:15 in the morning with my neighbour banging on our door, which I'm forever grateful, because if it wasn't for that, we would have been sleeping. So that's generally how we woke up that morning.
So then you stayed in your flat, and the fire brigade were all told that the stay put rule, which is essentially you stay there for 2 hours. The fire had started much lower down from a fridge or freezer. And you're in your flat and you start getting towels and wetting them because you're thinking to yourself, just in case, you've got 2 daughters, you had a pregnant wife at the time. When did you realise that it was actually really dangerous and you needed to start moving against the advice of the firefighters?
Probably about an hour into it, I would say.
Right.
When I really understood how bad it was.
Yeah.
You know, we've had fires in the tower before.
Yeah.
It's not generally a problem. You know, it's contained. And then sometimes even in the morning going, oh, we had a fire last night. And that's that kind of level it was. Of course, that night it was very different. So when I first opened the door to my neighbour, the lights were on, couldn't really see much going on. Thought, okay, normal fire, phoned the 999, and it was, you know, stay put, you're going to be safe there, that kind of thing, which is fine, and that's the advice we kind of went with. Probably about an hour into it, when I tried to go into my neighbour's house, I opened the door the first time, and it was pitch black. The lights were on, but
thick smoke,
black.
Right, too?
It was really thick.
Like that thick, dirty black smoke that kind of feels as though you're choking.
It was awful. It was something I've never experienced before. As soon, I think there's a clip where I opened the door, and I did that shortly after, because nobody was going to believe me if I said to them it was pitch black.
You filmed it, didn't you?
I did film it, and as soon as you breathe that in, you were just gagging. It was a horrific smell. I mean, it was something I can never really describe that well. And that was when I knew this is really bad.
I think you phoned the fire brigade 5 times before finally they said, right, you need to leave.
Well, I think it was the fourth time when they said, oh, we've changed our protocol policy. But even at that point, I explained, look, I've got a 7-month, a pregnant wife at 7 months pregnant. My 2 kids, one asthmatic as well. And I've got my neighbour and her child with me. You know, we need some help here. Although they said, yes, the stay put policy has been revoked, we're still sending somebody up to come and get you. And that's kind of what I was waiting for.
And in the end, you decided you couldn't wait any longer. You needed to get out. What was that like, Marcio, for you and the family, trying to get from the 21st floor of a tower that was then fully ablaze and getting through the smoke?
Couldn't see anything.
And what was going on around you?
Well, initially, we tried twice before and failed for different reasons. First, it was my neighbour couldn't go through it because the first time they opened the door and saw the pitch black and the smoke, you know, and it's quite difficult going into the unknown. The second time, it was my wife at the time who panicked as well, and quite rightly.
Yeah.
Being 7 months pregnant, she knew that there was going to be problems. And then when we were forced to leave was the third attempt, the fifth 999 call, where it just so happens I was on the call with the London Fire Brigade, and as I looked into my bedroom, the fire came through our window, and it set the curtains, the Moses basket, basically my room alight, and I only had time to really just close the door. And at that point I said, we've got to go, it's now or never. We couldn't stay in the flat anymore.
And there was so much confusion as well at that time. You couldn't see anything. The girls were, you were supposed to be behind the girls and you were taking them down, and then you kind of lost them within the smoke. When you finally get to the bottom of the tower, you see each other again, you get taken in an ambulance, but your wife, who is 7 months pregnant and asthmatic too, right? They have to make a terrible decision at that point.
Yeah. At the hospital, they came to me and said, came to me and said they had to make that decision.
Yeah.
And because my wife's obviously alive, they had to go with her.
They had to make a terrible choice.
Which I said, yes, that's the choice.